What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Man, I wanted to do this second little video on eating disorders, right? Eating disorders. It's another one of those mental illnesses, right? Yeah, I don't personally don't think it's the most common thing, right? But it tends to happen, right? It tends to happen. I personally, I had eating disorders for quite a few years, right? Quite a few years. Well, look, to tell you the truth, I think I had a few set of challenges. Like eating disorders, social anxiety, panic attacks, maybe even depression, all within the same 4 or 5 year time frame. And they were kind of all overlapped and were all part of my reality for years, right? For years. And everything happens for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. Like me, when I kind of started on my spiritual journey, right? One of the first things that I said and that I did, like I wanted to like help, right? I wanted to help people, right? Be of service to people. And one of the things that I did, I even did a vision board. This was like, I say like 12 years ago, like 12 years ago maybe. Maybe less, maybe 11 years ago. And on that vision board, I put that I wanted to be a problem solver, right? Like an expert problem solver. And I put that I wanted to read a whole bunch of books and that I wanted to travel and have a lot of money. And I did that, right? And a few months, I think, I got to go to Mexico, and I went for a vacation, but I ended up staying to live. I just stayed for a few years, right? And I traveled a lot. There was 1 year where all I did was travel, right? Like every week I was in a different city for a whole year. But to make a long story short, I did get to study nutrition, alternate medicines, things like that, right? And then I got all these things, right? Like I've had a lot of problems, right? But I think these were some of the major ones, right? And we all have problems, and I think that I got these problems. Like I've had physical illnesses, and just like these, I think that I got them to be able to learn how to get through them, right? Or how to fix them or heal them. And now that I look back at it, right? Now that I look back, it's kind of like, how can you help if you don't have experience with it, right? So we gotta experience things on our own to be able to to know, right? To know from experience, right? Wisdom instead of just knowledge. So with that, like I took these meditation courses, and I met a lot of people, and I was meeting a lot of friends who are vegetarians, and I was like on that spirit walk, right? Trying to get closer to God, right? Or to try to know myself, try to know life, what's it all about. And I was trying to, you know what I mean, get closer to the light and all that. So I started doing that vegetarian, started eating vegetarian, right? And I don't know if it was like I did it for a year or 2 years, right? But that's where I developed this the eating disorder, right? I felt like to kind of put it into context, or at least from my experience, what I felt happened, right, or what created it was when you're not eating certain foods, right? Like me, I wasn't eating meat. Um, it's kind of like you're suppressing emotions, right? You're suppressing an emotion. Like, I want to eat that. No, I'm vegetarian, so I'm suppressing my meat craving, right? Or my meat, whatever. So, not to get out of context, but the reason why you do it has to, like, I, I can only speak from my experience, but I think if I was to really do things like that in life, I think I would do it way later in life, right? When I have more experience or more self-control, I don't know. But I wasn't ready for it, right? So I started, I guess you could say, suppressing emotions by not eating meat. And everything that you suppress, everything that you push down has to come up. It has to come up. And it was very interesting because I didn't know, right? I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know that I had eating disorders until I was really deep into that, right? I was really fucking in the middle of a fucking swamp, right? Um, like this is what would happen. This is what would happen is I wouldn't eat meat, but say like this whole grain cookies or this other stuff, I would overeat from that. You know what I mean? Like kind of like to deal with that suppression, or from that to fill that void, I would take it out on other foods, right? Where I would eat, right? Like anxiously eating, right? Anxious eating out of anxiety, not out of hunger, but eating out of anxiety. And like I said, I didn't find out what was going on until I was in the middle of the motherfucking shitstorm, right? Like it was like you don't, or me, I didn't know until I was in the middle of it. Like I was like, fuck, what the fuck is going on? And fuck, like that was, it had already been happening for a long time. You know what I mean? It had already been happening for a long time. And after that, the anxious eating, like that shit was still going on, right? But I started doing it, um, like hiding it. You know what I mean? Like I would do that anxious eating away from people, right? And it's kind of like digging yourself even deeper into some shit, right? Because not only are you eating this way, but you're also hiding it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that whole like religious dogma. I'm a sinner, so I'm hiding because I'm sinning, right? I'm hiding. I'm hiding, right? Like Adam and Eve were hiding after they ate from the tree, right? But um, like you kind of know, right? That at a subconscious level, you kind of know what you're doing is not right. But at the same time, you can't control it. At the same time, you can't control it. And like it's there's a bunch of little kids right here, man. But it's out of your control, right? Because it starts turning into a habit, a pattern that starts building momentum, and it is fucking like a part of you, right? Like a little fucking monster that just fucking turns into a big ass fucking monster, and it's inside of your brain, right? And the more you want to stop feeding the motherfucker, the crazier it gets, right? The crazier it gets, and it's a mind fucking craziness, psychosis. It's fucking ugly. It's fucking ugly, and I gotta tell you it. I had it for years. I had it for years, right? Not really telling anybody, right? To begin with, I didn't even know what the fuck was happening until I was right in the middle of it. And second, well, like I said before, I'm a prideful person that I like to think that I don't need help from anybody, but we all need help, right? But once again, I never told nobody. I'm pretty sure, like my family members, some of my family members knew, if not a lot of them. But it's something I never spoke of, right? And it happened for years, right? Um, but now let's get to the solution, right? Let me just throw this in there real quick. That this is just my belief. This is just my experience, right? That's why I don't do the vegans, vegetarians, and I don't do diets. None of that bullshit, right? Because I know what suppressing emotions can do, right? And like I I I I practice bodybuilding, right? And in bodybuilding, people like to compete and things like that. And I think that's why I stay away from all that competing bullshit, because they diet for many many months, and those things could lead to the eating disorders. You know what I mean? Those things could lead to the eating disorders. Like a lot of major or professional bodybuilders have been through those things, right? And they've they've got like healed healed and gone through it and made it out. But many of them speak about that. That's why I stay away from all those things and dieting and all those things, right? Because I know what it could do. I'm not saying that it's the case for everybody. I'm not saying that you shouldn't compete. Like if it's your what you really want to do in life, you want to pursue like being professional, things like that, by all means go for it, right? But if it's just like a little bit of a ego satisfaction, stay away from it, right? It's demons that you rather not play with, right? Um, okay, so getting to the solution, right? To the solution part of it. Um, a, a book that I say was one of the biggest factors. Uh, it was really crazy because a mentor, that I had at the time in Mexico, without me telling him anything, not a single thing. He just told me, "Here, read this book," and he handed me a paper with the author and the name. And when I bought the book, I don't know if I went to San Antonio or where I came to in the U.S. and I bought the book, or I might have ordered it. I was like, man, this this fucker knew. He knew. He knew, right? Without me saying shit, without me even saying a word, he knew, and he gave me the solution, right? And the name of the book is called Intuitive Eating. So I might have to like add the authors on the description or in the comment section, but it's called Intuitive Eating, and it's by these two females. One's a nutritionist, or they're both nutritionists, and it's a really good book, and it could help you with that to eliminate the eating disorder, right? Um, like for me, the book probably had a really huge impact, right? And it's a process like everything else, to start healing, fixing, uh, bringing yourself back to your natural, normal eating, right? Like I'll speak a little bit on the book. Like the book says just to shatter completely any belief of diet, right? And it says to give yourself permission to eat everything and anything you want in whatever quantities you want. Everything. That's to get rid of the fucking restrictive food police inside of the mind that tells you you shouldn't eat that and don't eat this and that's bad for you. All that bullshit, right? That's to eliminate that motherfucker, right? Because that creates all sorts of fucking guilts and inner resentments and pities and crazy fucking shit in the head. So it says to give yourself the freedom of eating anything and everything that you want, whatever time you want, right? That's kind of to get back on track with your natural inner child that naturally knows how to eat and eats naturally, right? To get back to your natural eating rhythm or biological way of listening to your body rather than eating your anxieties away. And it's a really good book, man. It's a really good book. They have a really good process, and it's kind of like to eliminate that food police that's inside of the mind, right? And I think that was probably one of the most liberating parts. Is just give yourself permission to eat anything. And me personally, I that's how I eat. To tell the truth, I eat whatever I want. If I crave it, I eat it. I don't give a fuck, right? I don't diet or I don't. Um, of course, I'll try to eat foods that are nourishing, right, to the body, but I don't deprive myself of cookies and fucking ice cream and cake. If I'm there at a party and there's a fucking cake, I'm gonna have a slice, right? So the giving yourself permission. What's the other one? Being really conscious. Being really conscious. You know that's a big that's a big problem. I think we have is that we are really unconsciously eating, right? We're eating and we're on the fucking phone. We're eating and we're on the TV, right? We're eating and we're doing a million other fucking things, right? But we're not conscious in the presence of the meal that we're ingesting, right? And that's not good, right? Well, that's from the experience that I had. It made me a whole lot more aware of sitting the fuck down and eating and turning off distractions, right? And I'm not saying that I'm this motherfucker that perfect eater and doesn't, I I'll sit there and at times, right, watch videos on YouTube while I'm eating and things like that, right? But I try to, for the most part, I try. I'm human and I'm not perfect. To eat my meal and give it the time and the place and the space, right? Um, so being present while you eat, being present while you eat, being aware, and really seeing your food, right? Really seeing your food, tasting the textures, the flavors, um, like, and taking your time, having your pauses between your, like, say you eat and then you put your utensils down and taking a pause, and then because when you're anxious eating, you're just fucking hitting the turbo, right? Or at least me, in my experience, that's how it would happen. So I had to slow the fuck down in the way that I ate. I had to really slow down and take my time. I got to the point where I was I've always, or since then, I'm the last motherfucker to finish eating, right? Um, and so taking your time, also taking a pause between, like, asking yourself, asking your body, right? The point is to kind of try to get in touch with your body again, with your biology, with your natural self, your natural rhythms. Like the point of the pauses is like to assimilate what you're eating and to see if you're still hungry. If you're still hungry, will you keep eating? Like, you ask your body, um, like, am I full? Am I satisfied? Right? And you'll see that from taking those pauses, you start kind of knowing, right? You start kind of developing that language with yourself or with your body. Um, let's see. That's the point of the eating, the conscious eating, or being present when you're eating and taking the pauses and enjoying your food, savoring it, seeing the colors, seeing the textures, um, and taking the pauses. Of course, there is still the zero limitations that applies, right? Like, say, because there's sometimes we eat out of boredom, sometimes we eat out of anxiety, sometimes we eat just to fucking eat, right? And with the total permission of eating anything whenever you want, whatever quantity you want, you even if you ask yourself, right, am I hungry? Am I really hungry? Or am I just eating out of boredom? Or am I just eating for fun? Or for, you know what I mean? Even if you say, like, I'm eating out of boredom, or I'm eating out of, you still give yourself the permission to fucking do it. You know what I mean? You still, it's kind of like getting yourself and treating yourself as if though you are treating a small child, right? And having that same care and that same tact, that same love or nurturing that you would for a small child or a loved one, and doing that with yourself. You know what I mean? Being gentle with yourself, loving with yourself, graceful with yourself, and start on the process of caring for yourself and taking care of yourself and healing yourself, right? Aligning back to your true nature of how we ate when we were little kids, right? We ate because we were hungry, right? Um, and also the permission thing, the permission of allowing yourself, like, say you're craving a fucking big ass cake, right? Eat the motherfucker. You know what I mean? What you find for the most part, when you give yourself the permission, like, you eat the first big fat fucking slice, and you're like, man, that shit was fucking so good. I'm gonna eat another one. When you get to the other one, you're like, man, that's like, Like you eat it and you kind of enjoy it, but it wasn't as good as the first one, right? And that's something that you'll start discovering with giving yourself total permission. Is like there's no tension or friction that, oh, I can't eat this, and oh, I could, the food police, right, in the back of the mind, you can't, you must not, right? So when that's not there, that's not infringing you, or that's the point of the total permission and the total freedom, is to eliminate the food police, right? To eliminate any negative association with food, to eliminate any negative or bad relationship with food or to food, right? To get back into harmony with it, right? Um, Food is not an enemy. Food is not an enemy, and I'll tell you another little thing right now. Um, what was I lost my train of thought. So yeah, to get rid of the food police. Um, let's see. Um, and giving yourself the permission. Giving yourself the permission. Um, yeah, but that book's really helpful. Really helpful. Like me personally, I do not diet. I do not participate in anything that restricts me from any type of food, right? And I don't say I don't eat this and I don't, none of that bullshit, right? Um, and also another thing, going back to the relationship with food. This I think is one of the things that helps me out the most, man. I think this is one of the things that helps me out the most. When you're on a path to eating more, a lot better or healthier, um, you kind of develop the bad food, good food, right? Um, when you see food as bad, like if our thoughts create our reality, how is that food gonna be inside of your body, right? Like it's gonna be bad and it's gonna do bad, right? When you see food as good, no matter what it is, how is that food gonna be inside of your body, right? So I don't see anything as bad food. Um, like everything that you give thanks for, like say you're eating the shittiest of fucking food, right? But you give thanks for it. It that automatically makes it a good thing, right? It's kind of like it turns it into a blessing. Even in the book, the authors they speak of, they say call it play food instead of bad food, to change the wording to play food. You know what? Eating a little bit of play food, right? And it's all about context, to tell you the truth, right? And shifting the perspective and getting back into harmony with the relationship you have with it, to kind of being homies again, being good friends again, and going back to your biological way of eating, right? Um, so yeah, that book, Intuitive Eating, and it's by these two nutritionists, doctor um, ladies. It's a really good book. It took me years to get out, but I could say that like you could get out, right? Like you could get out. I'm not I'm no longer a prisoner of my mind, and with a bad relationship to food and with the food police and all that bullshit. Like I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot now. You know what I mean? Like how I've always enjoyed it, right? Aside from those few years that shit fucking happened. Um, so I hope even one of those tips helps, right? I hope it helps. I hope you go back into harmony with food and with your ways of eating. Um, like I can't throw shade on veganism or vegetarianism or any of the isms and diets, right? But dieting, it does. It's. I don't know. At least for me, I don't think that kind of stuff works, right? I don't think that kind of stuff works. I think you could just add more nourishing foods to your body, right? I think you could listen to your body. I think you could ask your body and develop that communication. Even when you're at the grocery store, like, do I need this? Do I need that? Or do I want this? And your body will tell you, right? And even when you're hungry, you can talk to your body and it will tell you too. But I think I've been dragging this video out too long, man. But it was just an experience that I needed to share. I just feel like I needed to share that experience because I feel like I'm not the only one that's had that problem, right? Um, and so yeah, that book, Intuitive Eating, um, and once again, I think like the my paths or my disciplines, reading, working out, meditating, are what has always kept me going through or pushed me through all the difficult areas or situations of my life. Um, so I hope this helps. I hope you go back into harmony with your relationship with your body, with food, and you become an intuitive eater, right? I hope you become an intuitive eater and have harmony mentally, physically, and with food, right? Because food is a part of life. Okay, so I hope everybody has a good one and you enjoy the rest of your day.